to care or not. This is funny, but my first child was born. She just turned 21. So when she was born, like I am in the nursery and I am watching her breathe and I'm like, did her chest go up? Did it go down? What does it do? I mean, and you're just obsessed with making sure this little human is okay. Because, I mean, they give you this little human to take home.
Right.
And there's no book and there's no manual. And you're like, oh my God, probably should make sure it's breathing. So now, 21 years later, I've yet to go in to watch her sleep. That would just be creepy and weird. But things
she would
change.
Probably think so too.
Things evolve, and as kids get older, as we get older, there are things that we had to care about when they were early in their stages of development that we don't have to care about now. Welcome to another episode of the No Limits podcast. We are doing one of our super special no filter editions, and I've got my fantastic sidekick, the marvelous Miss Mendoza, here with me. And today, here's what we're talking about today. And you guys know we have a PG rating, so we're calling it The Art of Caring or Not. Because we can't say, I read that book, the Mark Manson book. Have you read it? The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Bad Word. Fantastic book. I'm one of those people that, since I don't, I tend to cuss mostly when I'm injured or at my children, which is terrible, but I don't do a lot of professional. So I'm like covering the cover as I'm reading it.
Yeah.
It's so good. But so that's what got me thinking about how many things we care about so much and we spend so much time worrying about that we probably shouldn't. So that's what we're going to talk about today. The art of caring or not. So when do we need to care and when do we need to say just F it?
Yeah.
Without saying the whole word. We got to come up with a beep beep. All right. So when I say that, what pops in your mind? Like what do you think you care too much about?
So my mindset around the word care has changed a lot.
Okay.
From my 20s to my 30s. I think there's a lot that you start to not
but I think that's great because I didn't start to not care about things until late 40s probably. Recently, yesterday. No, I'm just playing. No, I'd say that it's gotten bigger. The older I get, there's less and less things I'm truly obsessed with caring about.
So
other than my kids,
probably a lot of what I'm going to say, if you missed our girl power episode, you should go back and listen to it first.
Okay. Yep. It's a great episode.
Well, and something that you had talked about, and it really is all about picking what you're offended at and not, because my caring or not caring comes a lot from the business world. Yeah. Which also, it may go with how the word changed because I was in my late 20s when we started the business.
Right.
So that probably ushered me into a new way of thinking.
So do you think you care more, get offended or up in arms more with business stuff or personal?
I probably get more offended with personal things and care less about maybe the way something is perceived.
Okay.
Business-wise.
Got it. I'm probably the same. Yeah.
Because I feel like, again, going back to our girl power conversation and being, assertive and powerful and sweet.
Yep.
There's that place in business that you got to be that if you cared about everything.
Zero beep beeps given.
It's going to kill you. Yeah. It will kill you.
Yeah, it absolutely will because there's too much. There's too many things and too many semantics we can get lost in where in the grand scheme of things they really, it's that 5-5-5 rule. If it doesn't matter, if it's not going to matter in 5 minutes, 5 months, or 5 years, don't spend more than, I think it's, 5 seconds, 5 months, 5 years, something like that. Don't spend more than 5 minutes thinking about it, which is true. But we will ruminate and obsess about things that we really shouldn't care that much about.
Or no crying in baseball. There's no crying in baseball and there's no crying in business.
There's a lot of crying in business and a lot of crying in baseball.
That no one sees.
Yeah. I don't know. You have seen, well, crying in business is funny because I actually, and when I did the Don't Make Me Pull This Car Over book for working moms, I had a section on that, crying, because it just, I apparently am an ugly crier. and I'm not a good crier. So, and my eyes swell and water when I get passionate about something.
Yes.
And it's like almost when I was still, working for my firm in finance, my partners would see it coming and my eyes would just start to water up and they're like, oh, here it comes. And so, but it wasn't that I was, it was the caring. It wasn't the madness. It was anything I care about, so whether it's something with my kid, like I could be talking and telling a story about my kids and my eyes will tear up, and that's the care. So like if you're thinking about to care or to not, the things I care about are the ones that make my eyes water, that I sit there and get, with the exception of Hallmark Channel, because as you know, I'm slightly obsessed with the Hallmark Channel, and
especially at Christmas.
I was literally watching it last night, and I'd posted, and one of my friends like, why are you watching Hallmark? We're like, I turned on the TV. It was a momentary lapse of judgment. And 4 hours and 2 movies later, it's 1 a.m. and I'm like, I probably should go to bed. But aside from Hallmark, the things I care about, like if we're thinking, what do we care about? What do we not? The art of caring for me is what makes my eyes water, what gives me butterflies. Those are the things I feel like we really need to care about.
Yeah.
And the rest we should probably just let roll off of us.
About.
Yeah.
Okay, so wait. Break it down for me when we're talking about crying in business.
Okay.
So like when we're talking crying in business, are we saying, if you knew I needed to do something, and you were like, Whitney, we have talked about this and you're not doing it.
Yeah.
And I'm not really sure why, but I really need you to get on that.
Yeah.
And I sat here and started crying.
Oh, yeah. No, I won't have that.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about when something is to your core, you are passionate about. So the only time, I'm not a big crier in business, but it has happened, but it tends to be when I am uber passionate and something is striking a chord or a values issue with me.
So you're crying,
and it's a passionate cry, not a hurt. Oh my God, it's not a hurt.
Okay,
yeah. I don't get. I'm probably in business a lot more cold-hearted than I can be. It can roll. I don't get offended by people and the things they say to me. If I did a terrible job, if they don't like what I did, I get that and I'll own that. But the things that tend to make my eyes water are the ones that you can get a little leaky, or the ones that it goes against a values thing. Like if somebody is truly flying in the face of my values or doing something where they're really, that's where I tend to kind of get a little teary-eyed. And it's not always crying. Sometimes it's just the emotions welling up.
Sure.
Because I'm not sitting there, boohooing and sobbing. I don't personally care for the crying, the sympathy, to get sympathy, or I'm fussing at you. If I'm giving you constructive feedback in a kind way about your performance, I don't expect crying, because people, let's face it, if you're going to be in business, you need to be able to take feedback.
Right.
And I've certainly gotten feedback where I didn't agree with it, but you have to receive it. You don't have it. But here's the thing with feedback: it's feedback. You can do something with it, or you don't have to. So if somebody gives you feedback, you can just take it in and go, yeah, whatever, I don't agree.
Yeah.
But where I would get kind of the really caring was when it was like, oh, you just felt like you were punched in the stomach. Yeah. And it's usually a values thing for me. It's usually if somebody's kind of pushing in. And those are the things I care about. So if we're talking to care or not to care, if it's something that I feel like somebody's pushing me on a values issue, I will come out swinging.
And it's interesting to me right now.
Or my kids.
Right.
If you push back on my kids,
yes.
I am a mean mama bear at its at its finest.
Well, it's interesting to me also how we're looking at the word care on this episode.
Yeah.
Because I also think, like, I'm going to go to the not
that
we've got in like parentheses, right?
Yeah.
I think at some point you have to come to yourself about what you don't care from others, in the sense of, this is a really good one that probably maybe women struggle with.
Okay.
Maybe more than men.
Okay.
Hearing what everyone else has to say.
Yeah.
Right. So like, you have RBF. You didn't say that to me nicely. I need you to be more assertive. I need you to be less assertive.
Yeah.
Like, right. You get like all these things kind of coming at you.
Yep.
Whether it's specifically spoken or an idea that we've kind of come to in our own minds.
Yep.
And I have found if you don't stop caring about all of those voices, then you yourself are not happy, because it is very hard to be 5 different people for 5 different people.
It totally is. And I think that, so, we talked about what to care about, what not. So that's a huge thing not to care about, because I do feel in today's society where we are on our phones 24/7, we have 50,000 messages an hour coming at us and bombarding us with TV and social and, just clients and meetings and face-to-face interactions. There's so many things that if we cared about or took time to receive everything, it'd be insane. Like, you wouldn't get anything done. So I think you're right. You've got to figure out what to not care about. And it's not that you don't care about the subject.
Right.
You can care about the subject and not care about all the input, because we get so many pieces of input that it's impossible to kind of filter it all. So I think, when I look at what I need to care about, what feedback I need to care about, I first and foremost look at the source. Are they just complaining, or are they truly trying to provide feedback? Because there is a big difference in pointing out errors and trying to give constructive feedback.
Yeah.
So as I've gotten older, I've gotten where I'm a little bit more discerning in figuring when I hear something or hear a reaction, first and foremost, is it feedback or is it complaining? If it's complaining, that's their issue, not mine. And then if it's feedback, then I have to look at the next step is, okay, is it valid? Is it, is there some truth into what they're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. And sometimes then you've got to decide, do I care or do I not? Because there could be truth in what they're saying and you be like, yeah, but that's just me and that's how it is. Because you can't please everybody.
Right.
You can't. And it's just, if we, like you said, trying to be 5 different people, we can't be 5 different people. It's taken me a long time to figure out I am one person. I am this way personally, professionally. It's just how I show up. I'm a little bit sassy. I have a pretty good, my RBF case, but I'm fiercely loyal to the people I'm close with. I have a very small, close group, and I'm fiercely loyal to them. I'm fiercely loyal to my kids, and I can be mean and snarky sometimes, and that's just me. And the people that show up and stay are my people.
Yeah.
And I think it's, I'm kind of at that point now where it's like, not everybody's your person. And I think that's kind of what's freed me a lot from, I can say, I just don't care about that.
Yeah.
I may care about the topic, but the piece of feedback I may not care about.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and a lot of this changes too, right? Like as you grow and learn, no matter what age you're at.
Like what I was concerned with when I was, 20, or even when my kids were younger, what I was concerned with then I remember, to care or not, this is funny, but when my first child was born, she just turned 21. So when she was born, like I am in the nursery and I am watching her breathe and I'm like, did her chest go up? Did it go down? What does it do? And you're just obsessed with making sure this little human is okay. Because, they give you this little human to take home.
Right.
And there's no book and there's no manual and you're like, oh my God, probably should make sure it's breathing. So now, 21 years later, I've yet to go in to watch her sleep. That would just be creepy and weird. But things
she would
change.
Probably think so too.
Things evolve, and as kids get older, as we get older, there are things that we had to care about when they were early in their stages of development that we don't have to care about now.
Yeah.
My kids know to wear a helmet. They know to wear their seatbelt. They know. There's things that. But it's the same thing with adults, personally and professionally. As we get older and as we grow, there's things that are learned by now, and they are what they're going to be.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's interesting. I think I worry, maybe I should care more about some things, but I think I'm at this point now where it's like, I don't know.
Well, I think you have your core things that keep you alive.
Yes.
Right. Going back to, I think in our girl power episode, we were saying we worry that everyone's looking at us, but really they're not, because they've got all the other stuff they have to worry about.
Yeah.
It's the same with often, I feel, caring or not caring.
Yeah.
Right? Like there are the things that keep me alive.
Yep.
My family. Again, back to your core values, right? Because that's going to spread into who you date, who you marry, who you don't, who you hang out with, who are you allowing yourself to go to lunch with, right? Those type things.
Oh, yeah.
And that all has to do with your core of this is what feeds me. This is what keeps me alive. Yep. And that's what energizes
me. And it's true, because I feel like anytime I have made bonehead decisions and I have made some fantastically bonehead decisions in my life.
Amen.
I will not name names. I will not. I mean, I probably could. If y'all want, just DM me and I'll give you the names. So you don't make the same bonehead decisions. It tended to be around dating. It's just, let's just face that. But every time I made a bonehead decision, personally, professionally, whatever, it's because I knew going into it, there was a teeny little bit of a values mismatch. Or whether it was a professional relation or a personal relationship, it's kind of like, there was something in my gut that I was like, I don't know. I don't know if this is the right thing, but let's give it a whirl. But I think now I do care fiercely about the people I'm around and the values of myself and those people. And, what I don't care about is to be around, to entertain anything that's outside of that.
Yeah.
And I think, so I'm very dismissive or, because I've been told, you're a little dismissive, you can be unapproachable. It's like, I kind of know what I care about and what I don't. If people aren't in alignment with that, no judgment at all, but it just may not be for me.
Yeah. Well, a practice that I'm trying to be more dedicated to you, and this is something dedicated to you.
Thank you. Hearts.
Dedicated to because of you. That's what I was trying to say.
Nice.
So dedicated to myself, a practice that I'm doing because of you. Like we had talked about journaling and keeping a schedule and writing down our goals, like physically writing them down.
Yep.
That practice has become so essential because of the things you just mentioned. So, we're going, we have social media, we're this, that, and the other, even like the radio in your car, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like you have to have those moments of quiet
Yep.
to hear yourself and even realize who you are.
Yeah.
Because we can just be globs of flesh moving about and hearing all this noise.
All this input. Yeah.
And then we don't know what we care about or what we don't. And then you do listen to what everyone else tells you what you care about, what you don't care about because you don't know.
Yeah. And it's, what's funny is you're right about the silence, because I'm big in writing things down and all that. And I do listen to a lot of input. I know both of us are big, Rachel Hollis fans. So we'll be turning on her podcast. So I do that a lot in the car.
Yeah.
But there's also times in the car where I just turn the radio off and just have complete silence, because whether you're trying to hear yourself speak, I'm a very spiritual person. So, God can't talk to you if you're sitting there yapping the whole time or listening to stuff. So being in the silence and being able to hear with, what do you need? Who do you really want to be? And how do you want to show up? Because one of the things I use with my clients a lot, and this rule takes place for me too, is if somebody is not something or someone, so whatever's on your calendar, is not bringing you energy or moving you closer to your goals, you need to evaluate whether or not you should do it, whether or not you care enough to spend time on that. Because we all have the same amount of hours in the day. And so, why are you spending on stuff you don't really care about?
Right.
And I think so many of us, we're in this society where we're like, we have to say yes to everything and we have to honor every commitment. I do feel like you should honor commitments, but don't make commitments to things that you really don't care about.
Right.
I've kind of joked with this before, and I know you moms listening, I need you, send me a DM, comment on this post, because there are moms out there that are like me, that when the Sign Up Genius comes out, and I've said this before, because the kids' schools ask for a lot.
Right.
And, when Sign Up Genius, it's a great way to kind of figure out what you sign up for. When I get the email that the Christmas party's coming, I'm the first one to sign up for plates or cups or spoons, because I can throw them in the backpack and send the kid to school and I don't have to cook.
Right.
So used to 10 years ago, I'd be like, oh gosh, I need to bake goods and I don't bake. When am I going to bake? So I have kind of gotten to the point where I just don't care about that anymore. They need cups. I'll send cups. They need plates. I'll send plates. But I'm not going to spend 4 hours cooking. No fault to the people that do. If you've got the time to do that and that brings you energy, more power to you.
Right.
And I think that's fantastic. So I think part of what it's developed in me has been, I've let go of other people's expectations of me, and I'm concerned with my expectations of me, God's expectations of me, and my kids' expectations. Other than that, it's you kind of got to evaluate whether it's worth caring about.
Right.
Because anything you're saying yes to automatically means you're saying no to something else.
Right. Yeah. And, realizing that times have changed in the sense of the cookie cutter, personas that once fit
Yeah.
They don't anymore.
Yeah.
Things are just different.
Well, it's, it's true. And we've got it, part of it to not care. We also have to first and foremost give ourselves permission not to care about something or to say no to something.
Yeah.
But we also need to extend that same grace to other people. I'm not going to be, I'm not going to be cooking all these fancy treats and sending them into school because my schedule and my skill set does not allow for it. They'd be terrible. But I'm okay with that. But what happens is you'll get judgment from other people like, oh, she's sending the plates. I'm like, well, yeah, I did. Sending the plates. Yeah. Ordered them on my click list, picked them up at Kroger, put them in the backpack. But you have to be comfortable enough with where your skill set, my skill sets are somehow we're different.
Yeah.
But it takes all those different skill sets. If we just lived in what we're good at, I really feel like God's got this thing figured out. And if we lived in what we're good at, it'll all fit. We'll all fit together.
Right.
But so many times we're trying to please other people and caring about. We're giving the F's where we don't need to be given the F's.
Yeah.
The beep beeps.
That was a beautiful way to put that.
Thank you. The beep beeps?
No. The beep beeps were great too.
Yeah.
No, what you said, that God's got it figured out. And if we would just all drive in our lane,
yep.
We'd all get to where we're supposed to get to.
Yeah. But don't you think that when we get out of our lanes is when we're listening to all the feedback and the input. And I don't want you to misconstrue me that you guys listen that you don't need feedback because you absolutely need feedback.
Right.
But you need to be very clear in where that feedback is coming from and the intention behind it. Is the feedback you're receiving self-serving by the person giving it? Is the feedback is it being presented to you in a kind way by somebody who really, truly cares about you? Which is why on social, if I have somebody blasting me on something, I'll go to my close little circle and say, hey, what do you think was off base? And if I'm off base, I'll apologize in 2 seconds. But the people that know me and know where I'm coming from, they'll tell me. And believe me, I've had friends of mine call me out on things that I didn't necessarily agree with. But, if you trust them and value them and their feedback, you take it in.
Yeah. Well, and back to the business setting, knowing that about yourself.
Yeah.
And knowing what you care about and what you don't also helps you as you interact with others.
Right.
Because I'll preface a lot of times I'll be like, I don't mean to offend by this.
Yeah.
But this needs to be said in order to get this done.
Oh, for sure. There's a way you can have impact without being offensive. So to me, when I look at being offensive, I'm going to try to not be stereotypical or anything like that. And in that I don't want to say things that I know are hot buttons for other people. Unless it's just fun sometimes. I'm just playing, but I wouldn't do that professionally. I like to rouse my kids a little bit, but I feel like if you just can say your truth, that's what we keep forgetting is what our truth is our truth. You may not agree with what I think. My chair's falling. You may not agree with what I think. However, it's kind of the thing where I don't know. I feel like so many times we just try to sugarcoat things and and not that you have to go out and be mean, but we're not saying what we think.
Right.
And that's what I think, with Manson's book, the subtle art of not giving a beep. That's what I feel like he did so brilliantly was like, this is counterintuitive, but if you really want to get out there and have fun and enjoy life and live life, you got to quit worrying about things you don't need to be worrying about.
Mm-hmm.
I can't let's use traffic. We're in Atlanta. For those of you guys in Atlanta listening, you can go 5 miles in a good hour and a half.
Right.
It's ridiculous here. So people get mad. It's Atlanta. There's going to be traffic. If you don't like the traffic, move to a different city or leave your house at 5:30 a.m. That's your two options. Yeah. So we have so many people, like the whole road rage incident is, I'll have people honk at me. I'm like, I literally paused 0.2 seconds when the light turned green. You're going to be okay, Susie.
Make sure that no one was going to run the red light and T-bone me. Yeah.
So but there's so many things that I feel like we're concerned with, and that's a trivial thing.
Sure.
But if you magnify that and look at, personal and professional, we obsess with so many things that in the grand scheme of things just aren't going to be worth it.
Right.
I know I've thought through, I have a lot of my private coaching clients own businesses or in the financial sector, and the amount of time they spend on trivial and minute things as opposed to just talk with your clients, engage with them, find out what's important to them, have a conversation, build a relationship. That's what I'm really pushing them to do. And they'll spend 3 hours a day on paperwork. Well, I get you need to do paperwork, but that's not important. I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm saying hurry through that so you can spend time on what's really important.
Right.
Spend the F's and the beeps where you need to spend them.
And if you think about it, if you don't do this practice, you're really the one suffering.
Absolutely. Nobody else is suffering.
Yeah, it's you. By not speaking up or not knowing where you stand, you're the one kind of left in the dust going, well, I didn't, say what needed to be said. Now I'm having to make up the difference.
And a lot of times we do that because we're scared to say no to people. Mm-hmm. But I mean, what I want you guys to understand is anytime if we're saying no, if we're saying yes to somebody else, we're saying no to us.
Right.
So if I say, I'll volunteer at this or I'll do this or I'll go here, and I'm all in for philanthropy and volunteering, but you've got to take your finite number of hours and your finite numbers of cares and figure out where to spend them. And so it's a lot of times we just are trying, I don't know, I don't remember it being this busy as a kid. I don't remember. I mean, I know when we're kids, we're not as busy, but, I was talking about that over the weekend. Last weekend, I was at a tournament for one of my daughters, and we started talking about team sports and everything like that. And when I was little, I played softball, but it was a little league. You practiced a couple nights a week. One of the dads coached. We had a game on Saturday. Went out to eat afterwards. That was the commitment, to play softball. Well, now there's travel ball and teams and whatever. And I mean, I have a child that's training 4 hours, in class, 3 to 4 hours in class, plus another hour or two a day on her own. She has 3 different private coaches. It's just like, why, and I've cut down on it a lot. My youngest, I pulled out of team sports because at 8 years old, they were wanting her to practice 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm like, she's a kid. She's not going to be in the Olympics. But as parents, sometimes we feel this. I don't know if it's keeping up with the Joneses or trying to live out some dream of being a Major League Baseball player that, we didn't have. I don't know what it is, but we're saying yes to so many things that, I mean, I don't know. I mean, she has not skipped a beat since I pulled her out of her sport. I mean, we pulled her out for academic reasons, but at the same time, now she's got all this time where we can do fun stuff as a family, where she can do art and ride her bike and go outside and she goes outside and plays. I mean, that's cool, right?
Yeah. I want to go outside and play.
I know. So, I mean, the main thing is really trying to figure out what you need to care about and what you don't. Where you need to spend your beeps and where you need to pull them back and keep them for yourself.
So what's as we wrap up, do you have a quick litmus test to figure that out?
It's what I mentioned earlier, and this works personally and professionally. If it's not bringing you energy or not moving you closer to your goals, it is not where you need to spend one of your beeps. So you got to keep it there. So really think through that, both with people, events, time, everything.
Love that.
If they're not your people or they're not helping move and propel you forward the direction you want to go, it's not for you.
Love it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, marvelous Miss Mendoza.
Thank you.
Being my sidekick. All right. All right. Until next time, everybody, we will see you soon and keep pushing through those limits.